Bonjour, everyone. Hi, this is Neshi Lokotz. Welcome to Star Nations Organization's main fan page right here at Facebook, where I do this daily live stream. I'm going to have to change that a little bit because we're moving away from every day. I'm actually going to be doing this every 5 days, live stream and group card draw. The card draw is all around the energy of what's important for us to know about today, the flow of that. And it's for our highest good and for our soul growth. But you know what? It also sparks a spiritual conversation and with those that are in the live chat. And so to me, that is so much deeper than just, getting to read off the cards. It's important. Yes, I'm not saying it's not, but it's the conversation, I think, that's really important. So welcome. Today is Thursday, May 2nd. I had to stop and think for a second. This week is kind of, it's going by very, very quickly. We're in the midst of the creation of the May issue of Star Nations magazine, and it's a creative process, right? And so I just finished up prepping all of the articles and getting all of the pictures lined up, and so now it's in the hands of our layout artists, and so and so I'm available to them in case there's a missing picture or something like that. So I got maybe a day or two that I can work on something else. So before we get down the road too far, I am going to like and share our live stream. Yeah, here we go. I'm going to like it and I'm going to share it over to my news feed. And so that my friends all know that I'm live streaming. And of course, we're going to invite them. And let's see, I think I'm going to add an emoticon on that. There we go. There we go. Doesn't take very long. There. Okay, so before I forget, I would like to share with you, and I mentioned it a little bit just now, is that come May 5th, it will be a year since I had the nudge from my spiritual team and the brilliant insight to do a daily card draw live stream. And so it's been a year. Now, generally speaking, I have done mostly every day. There have been a weekend here or two where I might take the weekend off and spend some time with my husband and now our new puppy, or I might have a business meeting or something like that. And so, but generally speaking, a year of everyday live streams. I know. And it's gotten to be quite fun, actually, and getting to know many of the people that are in the chats that show up almost every day. And so I think that I wanted to keep going, but I knew that I had to be able to free up some time to work with Star Nations Publishing. We just published another children's book with Madonna De Paulo. It's called The Sound Weavers, and here it is right here, the print copy. It's in print and also ebook. This is our second children's book. The very first book that we published is called The Tarot Journey. Copy's way over there. The Tarot Journey, Volume 1 with Julie Hedges. And the second book was Missing Nana. And that is with author Minnie Kansman. And so this year in 2019, we're actually going to be publishing 3 books. We just finished the one with Madonna, and the next one that's coming up is going to be in September-ish. September publication is The Key of Life, and the author on that is Ortrun Franklin. And then after that, we have a book coming out with the author Polly Jo LeBay. So you might recognize those names. Most of those, all but one, are either live stream show hosts or contributing writers for the magazine. And so I need to spend some time on those next 2 projects. And so those 2 days, Friday and Saturday, will be earmarked for the publishing. So, and that actually gets started this week. So this is really my end of the week for the daily live streams is today, and we'll be back with you on Sunday afternoon at 3 p.m. Eastern time. Yeah. So I just wanted to remind everybody about that because, we kind of get used to when something happens every day, we just kind of get used to it, right? So this is just an early reminder. Thank you, Stephanie, for doing all the postings about Star Nations and what's going on. It's good stuff. And Julie Shumway Hill's here. Yay, Julie. So good to have you here. Julie is our Academy Manager. And just so you know, Julie, I do believe, I didn't actually check. I just got an email from our webmaster, Elf Dan, and it seems that our next class is listed on the website. So yay! And that is upcoming in September. That's Sacred Artists with oil pastels with the working art illustrator and artist is Christine Pollock. Yeah, that's in September. Hello, Sabrina. Good to have you here. It's good to have you here. And Pat's here too. Hello, Pat. Good to have you in the chat. It's always good to see you in the chat. So today's cards is very interesting because we've had them before. And I had to talk to my team a little bit about it because I was wondering what haven't we covered with them, because this is like the 3rd or 4th time that they've come up. And so we're going to get started with that because what they'd like me to do is to pull another card with them. And I'm going to do that with you today, okay, right now. So this is the first card that came, Moon Lodge, and it's about retreat. Moon Lodge. Yeah. And Jamie Sams, who is the author of this deck, I always show it upside down. And that is the Sacred Path cards by Jamie Sams. Yeah. Copyrighted 1990. So she's a really good poet. And so I'd like to read to you the Moon Lodge poem. She says, Moon Lodge, place of receiving, time of going within, observance of body cycles, renewing life again, retreating in the silence, sacred Black Lodge of the West, woman, child, and grandmother, Earth Mother gives you rest. Okay. And she explains that the Moon Lodge is the place of woman, where women gather during their menstrual time to be at one with each other and the changes occurring in their bodies. And traditionally, the moon time is the sacred time of a woman when she is honored as a mother and as a creative force. During this time, she is allowed to release the old energy her body has carried and prepare for recognition. I can't read today. Reconnection to the Earth Mother's fertility that she will carry in the next moon or month. Our ancestors understood the importance of allowing each woman to have her sacred space during this time of recognition, and because women were the carriers of abundance and fertility. Okay, so I'm going to pause there just for a moment because, and this is something that we talked about a bit before, and that is the ancient ones in any culture, okay, the way that they perceived a woman's menstrual period, her moon time, was really more about a natural bodily function, okay? And they didn't see it as being dirty or shameful or any of those things. That all really changed relatively about 200 or 300 years ago here in the United States. Okay, probably no, closer to 500, really, because it came with the belief system coming in with the pilgrims, with the new people coming to these shores. It was their belief system. Okay, and so things started evolving and changing as Christianity came into being here on Turtle Island, and all of the conversion of earth-based religions to Christianity. Now, and the woman, it wasn't necessarily seen as less than during those early years, those early ancestors of ours. Okay, and so when she talks about that it was a sacred time and that the woman was honored as a mother and also a creative force. And I remember the first time I read that piece, I thought to myself, okay, so in those ancestors, when a woman was on her moon time, she was always apart from her family. She would go stay in another teepee, another wigwam, another cabin. And it was not because she was seen as being dirty or shameful. It had everything to do with being a very powerful force, a very powerful force of nature, really. And that it's during that time frame that women would go within and be with their intuition and be with their way to be able to bring in spirit, whether, however we sensed it, whether it's clairvoyance or clairaudience or any of those things. Yeah. And it was, a lot of it was about what we call bending energy. Okay. Yeah. So I'm sure that you guys have seen it, witnessed it, maybe not have been able to put that description on it, but it's when any time that you're in a group of people and you have, let's say, a teacher or somebody in a leadership position, and they are trying to communicate something, there may be one or two people in the group that wants to have the attention, right? And you can literally see people moving their attention from the teacher or from the speaker to this other person. That's bending energy. And so changing the flow of energy. And so many times in modern day, we will hear about how women who have their period aren't supposed to be touching sacred items, especially if they belong to a man. Yeah. And depending on the culture that's coming from, many times they will make it sound like it is because the woman is dirty, right? Unclean. And in my view, that's not true. I can understand them not wanting certain people to touch their sacred items. I get that. But for a woman not to touch them while they're on their moon time or menstruating, it has everything to do with their creative force. That we're at our most powerful around that time frame, and so that has more to do with it than the other. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you, Julie. She says she'll get that on the Facebook event. Yay. And she's asking, did menopausal women ever participate in any similar rituals? Well, it depends on the ritual, on the ceremony that was going on. Sometimes the woman, depending on when it was, what year, the time frame, women were not a part of the ceremony. And it really has more to do with kind of the mundane in a way. Because you have to remember that Kotex pads and tampons did not come into being until the 1900s. And so when a woman was on her moon time, absorbent material where it was actually natural material, like, taking apart a cattail, the kind of fluff that's in there. There's also seed pods that kind of have something very similar. And so it really had more to do with staying someplace where they could sit and bleed and not have it soak through their clothes. You see what I mean? So it really wasn't because they weren't wanted at the ceremony. It was more of a natural occurrence. Yeah. So think about that a bit, for those that are menopausal, in those time frames, in that transition from having a period and not having a period, in that transition, many times our flow was really, really heavy, right? As our body was preparing to not have a period anymore, shutting the lining, so to speak. So menopausal women were always a part of the ceremonies, always. And in fact, they say that menopausal women, because our time to bear children is done, is that we have our focus is on other things and not just the children or having children. That it frees up some of our energy, right, to be placed elsewhere. And so, yeah, and at that time, you're also considered an elder when you're no longer having a period. So, yeah, good question though, Julie. Yeah, and and the other thing is that the menopausal women, they're the ones that would take over the day-to-day stuff, while the mom or the younger woman or women who were actually doing much more of the work, while they were off taking care of themselves, the menopausal women are the ones that would step in to help with the meals and the children and that sort of thing, kind of taking over the duties of someone else for a while, for a short while, 5 to 7 days. 5 to 7 days. Yeah. So the Moon Lodge, okay? So about a woman being a creative force. Yeah, very strong medicine. Right? Okay. So, Now, here's something that we did mention the last time, is that the Moon Lodge, also known as the Black Lodge, is medicine coming from the west. So it's where the place of the sun sets. It's about going inward. It's about water in the west, the element of water and emotions. And so the energy of woman, the female, is in the west. Whereas the energy of the masculine is in the east. It's much more extroverted. It's about the sun coming up, right? Yeah. The energy is building up in the east. And in the west, at that time of day, the energy is actually ebbing. It's starting to dissipate as we prepare for nighttime. Yeah, so it's not an extroverted kind of energy. All right. So Julie's saying care of the family and the grandchildren. Right, exactly. So when let's say the daughter or the daughter-in-law was on their moon time, had their period, and they would go to the extra wigwam or teepee or whatever structure that was available to them for that time frame. Yeah, and so the menopausal woman would actually come in. The mother-in-law would come in to help with getting the meals and taking care of the family and especially the children. And there's something about women, right, that when we're together for a long period of time, our periods tend to sink. And so once a month, a lot of the younger women would be on their moon time in the Black Lodge, right? Now, it's not like they're doing absolutely nothing. They could still do handiwork, but that time frame was really meant for them to go within. Yeah, to reconnect with the Creator, with nature, the natural forces. Yeah, take naps. Okay, so and remember that this particular card isn't necessarily about gender. It really is about the spirit of the sacred feminine. And so if we're retreating, all of us carry the feminine gender and the masculine gender. I'm sorry. The masculine and sacred feminine. The spirit of, right? Even though you might be the gender of male, you still have the spirit of the female, the sacred female within you, and vice versa. The woman who is a gender of a woman carries the spirit of the male, the sacred male. So it's really about us balancing those energies, right? And so in the retreat that this card talks about, in this retreat, it really is being able to pull your energy closer to you, so that you are in like quiet moments. So you're reflective. So you could be asking spirit about different events that are going on in your life to help you understand them. You get a chance to be able to slow down and actually do that reconnection to spirit. Yeah. So it's really meant for the sacred feminine. The Moon Lodge. Did you notice on the picture that the moon down at the bottom of the teepee, the different phases, and that the crescent moon is in red, right? And the crescent moon is a symbol of the goddess. It's coming from the Old Irish and Celts. And that even the flags that are flying at the top of the teepee poles are red, signifying blood. Yeah, and the doorway to the Black Lodge or the Moon Lodge would typically face the west. Generally speaking, most buildings have structures would have had their door facing east, where they would greet the grandfather's sky and also the creator every morning. Yeah, but the Moon Lodge and the Black Lodge, they would normally have their door facing west. The sacred feminine. Okay, so here's what Jamie Sam says about this. This is about taking a break. Taking a break. Your influence cannot be felt at this time because you are in need of replenishing your own energies. You need to be alone and honor yourself for change. Retreating is not an act of weakness, it's an act of strength. Without retreat, the future cannot take hold in the present. And she says, remember that miracles can happen when you repose and allow yourself to come to your new starting place in a gentle way. So in other words, it's taking time to take stock, taking time to consider. Yeah. To slow down. Yeah, we don't do that very often here, especially women, right? Because this is, if we take it from the gender point of view, right? The gender perspective, this would mean that a woman who is still on her moon time, once a month, she had the opportunity to be able to go into meditation and to slow down and to be quiet. Yeah. Once a month. We don't do that in modern day, do we? We don't do that at all. And if you do, then somebody usually has something to say about it. That you aren't pulling your weight, or you're slacking. You're a slacker. All right. So the next card that came is Vision Quest. Vision Quest. It's about seeking and finding. The Vision Quest is one of the oldest tools used by tribal people to seek direction for life or within their life under the guidance of the medicine person, the holy person. The seeker is sent to a remote location to fast and pray for 3 to 4 days. The result of this activity, which is called going on the hill, also known as, in their language, the Sioux language, is Hamblecha, is a fuller understanding of your place on the pathway in the world. It's about connecting with your allies and your ancestors, enlisting their help in seeking and finding. I really like this card. I mean, you can see that he's Hamblecha also means crying for a vision. And really what you're doing is you're beseeching the Creator, you're beseeching Spirit to bring you a vision of your soul's purpose. what you're meant to do here. So Jamie Sam's The Poem says, Vision Quest, high upon sacred mountain, with unrestricted view, the clarity of vision comes to us anew. Direction with purpose, great mystery will bring strong medicine allies to grace our medicine dreams. And so it's about seeking and finding and enlisting the help or the assistance of spirit, listening to them. So the vision quests are one tool used by those seeking direction in life. Every time anyone seeks the silence of a balanced heart, the intuitive process can allow the truth to come forward. Truth is the final destination of any seeker's path. When the path is found inside the self, there is no need to look any further. This is about walking in beauty. So, if you're honoring the sacred feminine, that part of you, that means you're taking time to take care of yourself. You're making space for that in your life. That once a month, you're doing something that is going to honor your spirit, your connection to spirit. And so in many ways, it's like a mini vision quest. You'll have the time to be able to seek, to search for answers. Because right now, right when you are in that time of your life, whether it's the moon time or you're going within to look for the answers, our connection to spirit is so strong during that time frame. So this card tells us that the course of your life needs to be clarified through vision. It's now time to ask for assistance from the allies and or ancestors so that your choices will be reinforced with their wisdom and assistance. Seeking your personal answers is the keynote. And so when we're connecting to our sacred feminine, we can take the energy of that to seek for answers, to cry for a vision, to get clarity. It's a time to slow down, to go within and to listen. You're asking for help, right? You might have a situation that you need help with to understand it. And so it's to slow down, to get quiet, to get still. You're asking your question and then you're listening. You're calling for that vision. You're calling for the vision, that clarity. In both cases, the vision and the moon lodge are both times when you're by yourself. You're going quiet. You're listening with the vision quest. You're listening to nature. You're listening to spirit. With the moon lodge, you're listening to your spiritual guides, your ancestors. You're listening to spirit, connecting with your emotions. You might even say it's a quite powerful time to be able to call that your inward time, right? Yeah. Our lives are going by so quickly, aren't they? The time just flies by. That we start our day, and before you know it, it's the end of the day, and it's like, oh my goodness, what did I get done? Because and we fit a lot into one day. So when do we consciously slow down? When do we consciously remove ourselves from all the busyness to go within and to ask those questions and to listen? To ask your question to Spirit for clarity, to cry for the vision, the Humblecha, the vision quest, even if it's a mini one, and to be able to go quiet into the silence and listen. Yeah. I was just thinking, I don't really remember clearly the explanation that I got from my mom when I had my first period, that first year. Because it's kind of like an initiation for a young woman, right? Is your moon time, your first one, that first year. And we didn't have an extra cabin out back. We didn't have a wigwam or anything like that for me to go to. And so my mom would send me to my room. And at first, it felt like I was being separated from the family. It's like, what did I do? But it had more to do with to go someplace where it was quiet. And I would take all of my meals in my room. I didn't have to help with any of the preparation or the cleanup of the meals. Yeah. And that's the way it was the first year. So I kind of got used to going into my room to be by myself. Sure, I read and that sort of thing. That was before everybody had TVs in their bedrooms. Didn't have a TV, and I couldn't play my radio or my records. Couldn't do that. I had a small phonograph. Couldn't do that. Had to be quiet. Had to pray. Didn't know what I was praying about, other than please make the cramps go away. Yeah, so that was I was 13 years old. And so that 13th year, I spent every month for about 5 days, 6 days in my bedroom. Right, I could go to school, and if they went shopping or something like that, I could go with them. But when we were home, I was in my room. Yeah. Now, in my family, as far as I know, I was the last one to go through that initiation. My nieces didn't do it, not that I know of. Yeah. Makes you stop and think a little bit, doesn't it? Yeah, we don't, a lot of people don't recognize that time of life by doing anything special to mark it, right? And we also don't do that when we become menopausal, when we don't have a crone ceremony. Most of us don't. Yeah. So I've got the cards right here. These are so pretty. The backs of the cards, it's God's eye symbol. I was going to draw, I asked how many cards today, and I got the number 2. And as I was packing up my stuff to come up here, I literally got the nudge, take your cards with you. And so what we're going to do is we're going to pull one more card live, and we'll see what this has to do with the Moon Lodge and understanding that a bit better, a bit deeper, more expansive. Yeah, Marie is saying, love this. My youngest just started a couple weeks ago and would love to recognize this with her. My oldest had a party, but the youngest refuses. Well, maybe, if your youngest is much more introverted, more quieter, maybe a bit more reserved, maybe it's just you and her, or you, her, and your and their sister, just the three of you. And it's just marking that time of no longer being a child, that you're becoming that young adult. We'll always have our inner child, right? Okay. It's taking a while. See, this is what happened this morning, is that I was really shuffling the cards, and I went through several passes on it, and get the same cards that we've been getting for the last 2 weeks popped out. And we're up. Okay. Literally jumped up onto the floor. Well, there are 2 cards that we've gotten before. The first one that jumped out was powwow. And we just covered that. What was that, 2 days ago? It's about sharing. It's about sharing. It's about coming together to share. Sometimes sharing in ceremony, and sometimes it's more about being social, about sharing. And the other one is South Shield, and it's about the inner child and innocence. And so what does that have to do with the moon time? I think basically this is a confirmation of what I was sharing with Marie, is that if you want to recognize that time as an initiation, is that you can share it. You can make it more public if you want to, as in a powwow, but it's not necessarily a huge public thing. It could be just a smaller circle of sharing, And I suppose it's better to ask some questions to somebody who's has experience than to read it from a book. But when you can blend the two of them, get together, that's really good. And so some of us, we got the information about our moon time from a pamphlet. That's what my mom did. Left it laying on my bed. And then when I actually had my period, then it was, okay, this is how you do this. And that was just during the time frame before adhesive pads came into being, right? Tampons were available, but the pads were moving away from the belt and moving into the adhesive. Yeah. So that was something that my mom and I talked about. But yeah. So it's powwow is about sharing. It's also about, for me, it's also about joy. Powwows to me are joyful times. In the South Shield, that's in the South, right? The color of red, according to the Lakota wheel, medicine wheel. It's about our inner child and innocence. That's an aspect of ourselves that will always carry with us. No matter how old we are. both male and female. And really, these two things are genderless. There's no gender attached to this. The spirit of, right? Whereas these two, the first two, carry both the gender qualities and also the spirit qualities. You put these four together, and I think it can be about how we do we acknowledge that going within? How do we acknowledge the sacred feminine? How do we acknowledge the gender of the feminine? Do we call on our ancestors and our allies to help us to clarify, help us understand this aspect of ourselves? Searching, seeking, finding a clear understanding. And no matter what, I think it's meant to be joyful. In either case. And no matter what, we can always keep our inner child, that aspect of ourselves, no matter how old we are. We don't give that up. I don't know. What do you guys think? What are your feelings on it? Your intuition. Just taking it in. You might even take that nice big deep breath in and really take in these four cards together so that you can bring in the full essence for yourself, the message coming from Spirit. Doesn't matter what culture you come from. Doesn't matter what really belief system that you hold. What is the message here is about how do we interact with our sacred feminine? How do we acknowledge that time in a young woman's life when she becomes rather a female child into a young female adolescent? There's multiple meanings here. And that we have help. We have help in our ancestors, in spirit, our spiritual teams. We can ask for clarity, and as if in a vision quest, seeking for the answers. And then sharing our experience, sharing that initiation. And all the while, knowing that our inner child, our innocence stays intact. Because remember, that's where we get our intuition from. Is our inner child is the one who is our subconscious self, is the one that is the relayer of information. Yeah. Bobby is saying, hello all. Well, those cards make sense for the gathering and sharing and meeting of new friends in June. Absolutely. Crazy day for amazing positive information. My Merkaba arrived in the mail today. Perfect timing. Your Merkaba was delivered to you by mail? That's a first. Are you okay? So you have to explain about the Merkaba. Are you sharing about a figurine, a wall hanging, a crystal or a stone shaped into a Merkaba? Oh, I find it some hilarity in that because I'm a teacher of the Merkaba. How do you activate your Merkaba? You get it through the mail, the postal delivery, or was it FedEx? The faster you want it, right? FedEx or UPS. That's funny. Yeah. So share with us about the Merkaba, Bobby. Tell us about that. Okay, looking at the time because we have plenty of time. Plenty of time. And Marie, sit with it. Maybe you're asking for clarity, right? Searching, looking for information about how to acknowledge the change in your daughter's life. And still keep with her wishes on certain things, right? Friends of mine, their daughter didn't really want any attention put to it or to her. But my friend, her mom, the mom, really felt that this really needed to be an occasion that was acknowledged, right? And so what they ended up doing, it was just the two of them. They went to a park, and it was a really beautiful park, and so they did a hike, and my friend had taken some things with her in her backpack, and they had a little bit of a celebration, and moving from childhood into young adulthood, and what that might mean and what that could mean. And she said they came away from that hike closer than when they had walked in. But also she kept in mind that her daughter really didn't want to make it a big splashy thing. It's not like in the Chicano culture, the quinceañera. I'm not saying that correctly. Quinceañera. That's the sweet 16, and that's kind of a marking of a movement from a childhood into an adulthood, and that is a big splashy thing. The big dresses, and it's almost like a mini prom kind of situation. It doesn't have to be quite that flashy unless you want it to be. Yeah. I think that it's good that we can do that for both the daughters and the sons. That the son actually has the opportunity to be able to do their initiation from childhood into a young adulthood. In either case, depending on what culture you believe in, if you believe in the seven rights, the seven gifts given to the native people, the Osheti Sakoi, the Vision Quest is one of the seven gifts. And so those who are searching for information, their soul purpose, their life purpose, will go on a vision quest, no matter what the age. But many times, those that are just crossing over into young adulthood are put up on the hill for the first time. Yeah, so you can do it more than once. Julie is saying, my granddaughter had her first period at a swim meet. She was participating in Minnesota. Oh, well, that must have been a shocker, huh? A surprise, right? Yeah. And to be surrounded by that many girls or that many females at that time, right? Anybody here read the book, The Red Tent? The Red Tent? Oh, I can't remember the name of the author. I read that book years ago. I want to say it was like 97 or 98, something like that. It's a good book. And it really it's fiction, but it talks about, our ancestors and how they might have acknowledged and marked that occasion, right? Bobby is saying, amethyst Merkaba crystal. Today was doing an attunement of the chakra soul star, and the crystal arrived by postal lady delivered during the beginning of my attunement. I ordered it 6 weeks ago. Oh, really? Yeah, there's that number 6. Yeah, the Merkaba, six pointed star. Yeah, the Merkaba, the star tetrahedron. 2 tetrahedrons connected. That's a balancing of male and female. The balancing of earth and sky. Yeah. Yeah, we're going to be doing a class on that, activating the Merkaba in November here at Star Nations Academy. I went through my training with Drunvalo Melchizedek back in 2012 and became one of his teachers. And along that path is when my mom got to be needing me much more often. And so I laid down the teacher role for that for a few years because I couldn't keep up with, we had to have at least 6 classes a year. And I knew that I wasn't going to be able to do that. And so I still have the training, but I'm not a certified teacher. They can't keep that. And so I decided what I'm going to do is I'm going to take that training and my other experiences, my personal experiences with the Merkaba, and fashioned a course, a class, a gathering about activating your Merkaba from the balanced of your mind and your heart. And it's all about love. And so if you've been doing the unity breath meditation with me, you'll be doing that a lot in that class. Yep, I'm doing some healing work. That's in November. Yeah. So good for you, Bobby. Congratulations on the attunement and also of receiving your amethyst Merkaba crystal. And those kind of crystals I use on my altars all the time. Yeah, I've got the ones on the Academy altar here are holding the 4 directions, are shaped Merkaba stones and crystals. Yeah. Okay. Well, we're at the top of the hour, and we're going to say that any part of the conversation that we had today, that if it felt good to you, that it resonated with you in part or in whole, is to embrace that and watch, see, sense, feel how the energy is unfolding for you today and where this information could be helpful to you. Or, in that, if you're the direct participant, possibly you're the bearing witness to it. And if you're bearing witness, it's still important because you get to tell the story as that witness. And in any case, we're learning something from it, right? And if it didn't resonate, don't worry about it. It's okay. There's always tomorrow. The card draw for tomorrow. And in this case, on Sunday. The card draw on Sunday. And yeah. So tonight, hopefully you guys can join us tonight. Spiritual Mysteries of Life is on at 8 p.m. live stream here. And the host is Connie Shearwater. She's one of our elders here. And her topic tonight is about the truth has many facets. Has many facets. And I don't know if she'll be doing channeling or not. Possibly. But please join us. Please join us. It's going to be interesting to see what she says about the truth, right? And I get to produce her show for her. So I'm going to be not just in the chat, but I am going to be holding space for you guys to do the chat. And so if Connie is going to be doing, and she'll let you know if she's channeling tonight, that you can ask a question in the comment section. I can tell you this, is that if you want a more precise or clear answer, your question has to be the same way. So you want it to be, more intentional. If you ask something in general, like, what does Spirit have to share with me today? Or what's important for me to know today? You get more of a general response. If you want something more specific, you have to ask a specific question. Okay. But I'll be there. I'll be there taking your questions and such and holding space for you guys. Bobby is saying that would be an awesome class in November. I think so. It's in fact, I may have somebody coming up from the Chicago area who studied with me as a teacher. And so she may come up and actually help out with the class. Yeah. You guys can all meet Karen then. She's a good soul. She's a good egg in November. So, all right. And with that, I'm thinking I forgot something. Feels like I did. I don't think so. On Sunday, we're going to start a new card deck. Okay. I'm not sure in this moment if we're going to be using the Angel and Ancestor cards with Kyle Gray, or if we're going to pull out one of my older decks, which is the, I don't know. The one that keeps coming to me is the Sweat Lodge cards. So we'll see on Sunday, okay? All right. Hopefully you'll be able to join me. With that, enjoy the rest of your Thursday, and we will see you back here on Sunday afternoon at 3 p.m. Eastern Time for the daily live stream and group card draw, okay? All right. Bama Mina, that's Potawatomi for until we see each other again. Love you guys.